a couple of announcements before we get going. As a courtesy to your fellow media members, as well as the coaches and student athletes, please silence your cell phones. Please provide your name and media affiliation each time you ask a question during the press conferences. If you are joining on Zoom, please use the raise hand function for questions. We will address questions in the room first and get to Zoom if time allows. Recording press conferences on cell phones or cameras is prohibited. First up is Richmond, the number 8 seed from Richmond, Virginia, from the Atlantic 10 Conference, making their 5th NCAA tournament appearance. Joining us is head coach Aaron Roussel and student athletes Addie Budnick and Maggie Dugan. Coach, we'll open up with a statement from you, then we'll go to questions to the players first.
Obviously very thankful, grateful to be here. Kudos to the committee. Thought just a fantastic bracket. Didn't really know where we'd be seed-wise. Felt like we had a schedule and kind of did everything that we thought was asked of schools like us at this level to have this chance, right? If you were forced or weren't fortunate enough to get the AQ to be an at-large consideration, I wanted to make sure that the schedule was not going to be the reason that we wouldn't have a chance. And, so we were able to do that. Big thanks to our administration, president, and all the way down, athletic director, and everybody else for allowing us to do that. And then our players, seizing that opportunity. I think it's just been a really special group. Obviously, when you look back at a season, it can always feel long, but in some ways it feels like, oh my gosh, are we really at the end? I don't think this is a group that's ready to be done. I don't think this is a group that is counting the days. So I think we're all very fortunate. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity to be sent to sunny LA. I'd say the weather cooperated, but I think the weather always cooperates out here. So it's a cool spot for it, and seeing our players and how much they enjoyed the reveal, right? And for it to happen right away, for it to go to LA, the matchups aside, but I think to be able to be sent to a cool destination like this was the first excitement, and looking forward to seeing what we can pull off here this weekend.
Please raise your hand if you have a question for the players.
Hi, Sabrina Merchant, The Athletic. For either Addie or Maggie, just having gone through this last year playing Duke, what did you learn about just the stage of the NCAA tournament that you can take into this season?
Just being here and being selected, we're just super thankful for the opportunity, but also having that experience and knowing that it's going to be a physical game, it's going to be an intense atmosphere. It was just a really cool opportunity last year, and never being there before, it's kind of like you didn't know what to expect, but now we have those expectations and know what it's going to feel like. So we're really excited for the opportunity tomorrow.
Yeah, I would say the same as Eddie.
Greg Beecham with the AP. When you've won 17 games in a row, you haven't lost since New Year's Day, you're really got a lot of momentum going, then you lose a heartbreaker like the way you guys did. How does that affect you? Does it shake you up at all, or does the fact that you've done so well for 2 months allow you to shake it off quicker because you know what you are and what you've been able to accomplish?
I think the loss definitely hit a little harder just because of what it was. Obviously being in the A10 tournament and, chasing a championship kind of hit a little harder, but I think, having that 17-game win streak, in the back of our minds kind of gives us that confidence that, we've played really good teams and we've beaten really good teams, so we can do the same while we're here.
Aaron mentioned it, but you guys played a schedule that got you in here. You had those 3 games that were really tough right before the holidays, Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, and the tournament in West Palm. What did playing those games teach you guys and do to make you a better team, even though they came up short?
Yeah, I think all of our games besides Tennessee, we were a little further away from them, but all of them were super competitive, so we know that we can compete at that level, match their physicality. When we play together, we can compete with anyone. So we're just really looking forward to this weekend and be able to hopefully make some noise.
And Aaron mentioned it as well, but we saw the reaction from a video when you guys got selected to come all the way out here. What's it been like so far being on the West Coast? Did you get to do anything fun yet? How's it going?
It's been really cool. The culture is definitely a lot different on the West Coast, but we went to the Santa Monica Pier yesterday, and just walking around town, just seeing everything, it's been definitely a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it's really cool. We're enjoying it.
Hi, Blaine McCormick from University of Richmond. Just the first reaction that you guys have walking into this arena, seeing the March Madness logos and everything that, has for this time of year.
Any games in March. It's a great opportunity. We're just really thankful to be here, especially being in such like a historic place and gym. Just walking in, taking it all in. I think everybody just kind of stopped like at the entrance of the gym, just either taking a photo or just taking a moment to really just take a deep breath and understand that this is a really special place to be in, and we're just really thankful for this opportunity.
How about you, for Maggie?
Yeah, I mean, seeing the March Madness logos definitely gives me some excitement just to be here. This is something like you dream about when you're a kid growing up, and being able to, make this a reality is something that I've definitely looked forward to, and it's just a really cool thing. And yeah, like Addie said, being at UCLA, this historic venue is really cool and something I never thought that I would be able to do. So I'm definitely going to take it all in.
How special is this experience to share for another season with a lot of the same teammates that you had last year in Columbus?
I mean, obviously, like I said earlier, it's a bit of a different feel because we have been here before, but honestly, that special like feeling of just walking in like didn't go away at all. It was like that same, wow, like this is like, incredible and just super cool. So I think it's a different group, and some people haven't been here before, so being able to see them coming in for the first time as well was super cool.
Yeah.
We'll move over to Zoom. Natalie first. You there, Natalie? Oh, what about you, Daniel?
Can you all hear me now?
There we go.
Got it.
You're good.
Okay. This is Daniel Frank from A10 Talk. For either of the players, this is the first at-large bid for Richmond, but you guys are looking for your first ever NCAA tournament win. What would it mean to be part of the team that gets that first NCAA tournament win?
I mean, it would be an incredible feeling. I feel like we've done a lot of firsts this year, but I think this would obviously top everything. Just being with this kind of group that we've worked so hard and we've been through so much that, we want to play for each other, we want to play for the coaches, we want to play for the university. So I think that would all be a very, very cool thing to do.
We'll give Natalie one more try here. Or not. That's it. Thanks for the student athletes. We'll go over to Coach now for questions for Coach in the room.
Hi, Sabrina Merchant, The Athletic. Welcome to LA. So, top 20 offense in your team, another top 20 offense in Georgia Tech. You guys get to your spots very differently, though. What stands out to you about the way they run their offense?
Well, first off, just I think the coaching. Obviously you have a legend on the bench, on the other side of it, and doing homework a little bit. Now that we're doing a little bit more of a deep dive, it does look like they're playing differently than they were last year. Maybe a little bit more modern, and you said in different ways than us, but you do see some similarities in the way that they're trying to space the floor and still get shots at the arc. But I just think they have really elite kids that can get their own shot, right? So the athleticism, the things that they can do with the ball in their hands, the ball handling, just we probably are creating shots in different ways. I think with us it's a little bit more fluid, a little more cutting and stuff off the ball. They have kids that distribute the ball really well. I think that was something that stood out when you see their one-on-one abilities. You see a lot of teams play this way, and it's just that's really, really hard to guard. They don't turn the basketball over, and on top of that, they get a lot of assists. You don't see that a lot, and so if she's willing, that's probably a conversation I'd love to have with Coach in the offseason of how they're able to do that, because I do think they do a really good job. Morgan coming off the ball screens, I think she's elite with that. Her shot creation for herself, the stuff that she gets for other people. It's really been a fascinating watch for us here this week. So it's a very formidable matchup for us, maybe a little bit uncomfortable. But I also think for as much as people have talked about our offense, I think our defense has been really good, and especially at different times throughout the year. And we've got to be at a high level to be able to limit them a little bit.
Hey, Aaron. How did this team react to its first loss in 2 months?
the coach in me wants to say not very well at first, and I mean that with all respect to our players. I just think they are so highly motivated. There was no entitlement of like, hey, we've won 17 in a row, or we won last year, we're supposed to win again. But I think how badly this team wanted another championship. And it's not just these two here. It's not just Addie because she came back in her 5th year. I think the level of pride that they have in this university and in this program, they wanted that for our fans. Our fans have been incredible. They so badly wanted to celebrate that with fans. The love they have for the kids that were not on the team last year, of how much they saw us celebrate last year, how cool it was. They wanted that so bad for the rest of our team. And then, the scheduling for us, it was spring break, so we still had to kind of give our kids a little bit, but we had to bring them back, so we wanted to give them a little bit longer weekend this past weekend. That first practice on Tuesday after the loss was hard, and we've talked about that as a team. And, again, I mean that. I could very easily flip that around as a compliment to our players of just how much it hurt. If it didn't hurt, you'd be concerned as a coach. And so it probably wasn't the best practice. They'll be the first to tell you. Maybe I wasn't at the best on Tuesday. But I think we learned from that. And there's so many people that talked about during that streak, especially when you had the league clinched as far as the outright title and the number 1 seed. We still had a pretty tough schedule that last week of the season. And I understand where people said, hey, maybe a loss would benefit us, but we weren't buying into that. And I think part of that was knowing the strength of the conference. If you did lose in the conference tournament, you still wanted to have a chance at the at-large. So you never want to lose, but I've always said this as a coach, you learn more valuable lessons, and sometimes that's driven home a little bit stronger after a loss. And I think there's been a little bit more different pep in our step since we had a couple days off middle of the week last week. And some of that was probably the celebration and eagerness of coming out here, playing a new opponent. I think that was a big thing for us too, of just getting out of the region was a cool thing, but also playing somebody that you didn't have a history with. Last year we played Duke. It was the 3rd time we had played them, I think, in 13 months or whatever it was. Still cool. There was still a revenge factor. There's still hey, we can show how much progress we've made. Columbus was great. They treated us very, very well in Columbus, Ohio, but we've often joked that we don't plan spring breaks, right? When you're in this program, you don't plan spring breaks. That NCAA tournament is our spring break. So getting shipped off to Los Angeles on the NCAA's dime is pretty cool, and a memory here. So I think that's kind of reinvigorated things for us in a positive way.
And similar to what I asked the players, playing Texas, Tennessee, Alabama in a row, what did that do for your team?
Well, I said this after that week, and it weirdly gave us some confidence, and I think we knew how good, and we played, I think, early too. Like, we had beaten Fairfield, we had played Temple at Temple. Like, those were under the radar, pretty sneaky wins and very high quality wins for us. I think we recognized early how good Oklahoma State was, and we sat in that locker room and we're like, that's going to be a big time win, and now you're kind of watching the net and making sure that's still a quad one. And then even Georgetown and some of the others, Columbia was a fantastic game. I mean, we had a great game with George Mason this year early, one of the best games I've ever been a part of. That Columbia game was there too, if you liked coaching, liked offense. So I think we had kind of built that and built some confidence. The Texas game, seeing Vic Schaefer call a timeout with 4 minutes left in the game because like we were one possession away from really kind of making that really tight, I think gave our kids some confidence. They talked about the Tennessee game getting away from us. It did, and not to sound like making excuses, but there was probably 2 4-minute stretches in each half that you take those away, and I felt good about how we played. And so we used that. And then Alabama, I think we had a 4-point lead with a couple minutes left. Like, those are things, as much as it hurts because you knew that would have been a valuable win for you, for the program, I think it did give us some confidence and springboarded us to start conference play, and we didn't have a great night in the Bronx at Fordham. But again, going back to your point of the loss against St. Joe's, I think it did give us all of our losses have weirdly strategically, I think, made us better at this point right now, and hopefully we can learn a little bit from the St. Joe's one as well.
Coach, over the last 48 hours, kind of take me through the game plan and getting these players in the right mindset, and trying to get the travel time off as well, because it's a long distance from Richmond.
Well, again, I mean, you obviously find out where you're going on Sunday night. It takes a lot. There's a lot that goes into the logistics of this. You know, sometimes you can say this is a operations nightmare. In some ways, it's just like operations, like everybody's hair is on fire. So it's weirdly weirdly fun. I don't think we really knew our travel plans until maybe late Monday night of what time we were flying, maybe even Tuesday, what time we were flying out. But I think gone through this before. I think we had contingency plans for, all right, if we're in the play-in game, we're playing Wednesday, this is what the week's going to look like. If we're playing Thursday, this is what it's going to look like. So for us, you know, we were going to take Tuesday off anyway and kind of hope that would be a travel day. That worked out. Practiced yesterday. You know, we kind of told our players Sunday, you can celebrate this, enjoy this. You know, for us as a staff, it was full planning mode, you know, and so we met, everybody kind of watched their film. We met Monday. On Georgia Tech, you know, 6-hour flight allows for a lot of studying and a lot of studying for the kids, right? There's a full study mode on that flight, and then for the staff, you know, a lot of film, and it's really just been a lot of that. You know, the kids mentioned Santa Monica Pier. I stayed back on that one, but I was able to take my kid to the Lakers game last night. I mean, that was really, really cool for me and for my family. You didn't realize that was a bucket list item, but, you know, this opportunity allowed that. And, you know, today, obviously, getting on the floor will be great, but there's still a lot that goes into us prep-wise. And, you know, I don't think there's anybody that you want to play at this point, but I think the more you're watching Georgia Tech, the more you're like, wow, there's a lot of firepower there. And there's some great action, some great coaching going on. So chess match is sometimes a cliche, but I think there's a lot of prep that goes into it as a staff, and looking forward to continue to do that with our staff and kind of see where that falls tomorrow. Similar to what I asked Addie and Maggie, what does it mean to you to have those core players from last year and having Addie return for a 5th year as well, joining this wild ride? Well, I think sometimes when you've been there before, that following year, there's a different vibe when you get to a tournament. So I think for the returners, there's nothing that tomorrow is going to be too big for them. But I said that with last year's team too, even before the tournament. Like we had just built to that, and being with successful teams before, I knew going into that A-10 tournament that we were at our top, even against Duke, that there was nothing that was too big for us. Hadn't been there before, but I knew that there was nothing too big for us. I have that feeling again, but I think so much of that was like, of course we have that feeling because we have these returners that are back, you know, led by these two. But, you know, Allie Sweeney, again, I don't know if she even got in the game against Duke last year. I have zero concern with Allie Sweeney for tomorrow. That kid's a gamer, and that's what 32 games will do for you. That's what playing Texas and Alabama and Tennessee will do for you. If you've navigated that as a first-time starting point guard, you're going to be just fine. You know, our key kids coming off the bench have been really, really good players elsewhere and for us. You know, they're starting caliber players. You know, they haven't been here before, but they're in 5th and 6th years. So I think we get some benefit from that. It's a little bit of an older team, and we're going to enjoy this. We have enjoyed this. Walking into Pauley Pavilion was a cool thing. I wasn't sure if that was going to resonate with our young kids. It really did. But I think we've talked about it all week. You know, keep the main thing the main thing. We have some Philly Eagles fans on our team, so ad nauseum a little bit. That's been heard a little bit too much for me as a Vikings fan. But I think our focus has been strong all season. I have no reason to think it won't be the same.
We're going to move back over to Zoom. A reminder to unmute your microphone. We'll go to Daniel first.
How you doing, Coach? Daniel Frank from A10 Talk. The number 8 seed for you guys is the highest seed from an Atlantic 10 school in the NCAA tournament since GW in 2016. Do you feel like this is a sign of the Atlantic 10 getting more national level respect, or do you feel like it's more of a reflection of how Richmond has built this program over the last several years, or both? Yeah, I mean, I think the easy answer there is both, and I think obviously as a league, we've known you know, I think even going back 4 or 5 years ago, we had a lot of new coaches in the league, and we talked about sense of pride of wanting to build the league this way. I think we've been very strategic as a group of taking a look at, you know, even before the net and RPI of how can we make advancements. I think our conference administration has been great with that. I've nerded out a lot over the years and really kind of done the deep dive of how do you get into that net? How do you do this? It's not something you can game, but I think we've tried to figure out schedule and some different things of style of play of how to help ourselves. And I think the rest of the league has taken notice. But, you know, I think the sense of pride that I think hopefully the league feels, but definitely our group felt on Sunday night to see the 8 seed, to be able to wear white was really cool.
And I think that's something that will mean something down the road. That's not meaning anything tomorrow. If anything, that's igniting Georgia Tech and saying, hey, we're supposed to wear white, right? I mean, so I think it was a really cool thing that we talked about on Friday. Had nothing to do with anybody else's seed, but just, hey, how cool is it? We had this blueprint 6 years ago, right? And none of us that when we started that blueprint, showed that blueprint, were here. But Addie Budnick bought into that. She wasn't buying into history, tradition. She wasn't buying into other stuff. She was buying into a vision and a blueprint that we had. Maggie Dugan started to see some success and maybe jumped on, but there was still buying into a vision. And this is where ultimately we wanted to get to. So to have the blueprint kind of come to life here, to have the blueprint validated, I think is a cool thing. And I think a notch on the belt for our program, but admittedly for the league, and just happy that the league was able to get two. Talk about different ways to get there, but to get two. And I thought even St. Joe's, if they're in the tournament, they're making noise in the tournament too. And proud of the league that we're in the spot right now.
We got time for one more question from Natalie.
Natalie Heverin with the next. For people that haven't watched your team as much this year, who do you expect to surprise people, or maybe has been impressing you in practice this week?
Again, I think when you've had the same starting lineup for the most part throughout the season, kind of the players that have done it throughout the year are kind of the ones that you count on. But, I think people are surprised when you look at the returners and kind of the four that played a lot of minutes last year. Somebody like Katie Hill can get lost on you because there's maybe not a stat sheet or a column in a stat sheet that can show the impact that she has, whether it's defensively, whether it's just that connector or making the second pass. I think Allie Sweeney catches people off guard because, as a point guard, she's different than what we've had success with Grace over the years. Kind of that breakdown offensive player. Allie Sweeney's a very, very smart player. She's an incredible shooter. She can break you down more than I think what people realize. So I think those guys, the other three with the accolades maybe get some credit that the other two starters maybe have not, but they've been equally as important. And, I think have had some big time moments for us. And like I said, I think the kids off the bench, kind of the core kids off the bench, have been new kids for us this year, but have played a lot of basketball and had a lot of success at this level. So it's really been that team thing. I forget the number at this point, but I think even early, I think we had 6-7 kids that scored over 20 points in a game, like 15, 16 games in. That's not happening. So we have firepower, but I think we've also had some kids that the key thing is willing to take that step back, right? Like Anna Camden is not lighting up stat sheets sometimes, but she's been essential to what we're doing. Allie Jimenez off the bench, Faith Alston, Steph, those kids have been really, really good for us. And they came here to win and be on this stage as opposed to taking opportunities elsewhere where they could have individually had that shine and gotten those flowers.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate everything. This has been fantastic here.